Did anybody hear that?
Yeah. So we're here with Marty Friedman, ripping it up. Already broke the internet a couple times for us.
All right, man.
Your style, I want to talk about how you developed that, because your angle of attack on your right hand is kind of straight
very
on.
Weird.
Like a lot of players you see, they attack this way.
Right.
How did you develop your style like that?
Well, it came from a lot of doing this.
Okay, fair
The
enough.
more you do this, your hand gets stuck in that configuration.
Sure.
So when you play guitar, it's a natural progression to go to that.
Cool.
I like the way you deadpan that answer.
Just doing my job here,
That's
folks.
great. Yeah.
When you first started out, did you find a facility for the instrument immediately, or did you have to like struggle through it?
I'm always struggling. But you know, I knew that's what I wanted to do, because I really wanted to play sports, but I knew that was out of the question. So I knew guitar was a bit more realistic.
And when you started out, were there like a couple key tunes that you were like, I need to figure out how to play that?
No, not at all. I wanted to play, just wanted to play, period. So at that time, what I was lucky to do was I liked really easy music, luckily. You know, some kids like start because they hear something really difficult or progressive, and they're like
a Marty Friedman song.
Well, I don't know about that, but like I started out, I really wanted to play like Kiss. I wanted to play like the Ramones. I wanted to play like Black Sabbath. So you could get some satisfaction relatively early with that. But like a lot of other guys in the neighborhood, they were starting off because they were listening to what, at the time, I guess it was like Yes and things like that, difficult things.
Yeah.
And you don't get the satisfaction right away, you know? So like maybe they would spend a year working on a song or two, and they'd nail it, but then I'd have like 150 punk songs under my belt, playing gigs, getting chicks, doing all the stuff. You don't really need to start off with your goals so high, and I think that's what is discouraging for a lot of people, and what makes people give up, because it's attractive to do something you can't do. But if you kind of set your musical goals a little bit closer to where you actually are, you're going to find a lot of satisfaction at an earlier time, and more fun at the same time.
Yeah, that's interesting, because a lot of guitarists I've talked to before, they say that every time they reach some achievement, the goalpost moves, and they have to keep going, and they never feel like they ever like, well, I'm as good at guitar as I'll ever be, and that's it.
True.
So do you chase that, or do you just kind of let it happen?
If you keep doing anything, not just guitar, if you keep doing anything, unless you have some kind of problem, you should be getting better at it, not worse, with time and energy. So with that in mind, it's not rocket science. Just keep doing it. If you play for 10 days, you'll be better than you played at 9 days. Same thing goes for years. So yeah, I never really thought about that. And a lot of people ask me exactly what you said. When did you feel like you were really good? It's like, when do you ever feel like you improved? And I'm like, no. But if I listen to an album one album ago, I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't do it the same way now. I do it differently, because you're evolving, because you're constantly playing. But you never notice it. Hey, you know what? I'm good now. I really got it going. I feel improvement. You never feel that. So if you're expecting to feel that, don't expect it, because it never comes.
What instrument did you start with? Did you start on guitar?
Yeah, I started with the guitar, cheap guitar, $100 guitar, and I think it's a good place to start. A lot of guys, you know, think that if they buy a really good instrument, a good amp and stuff, it's going to give them a head start, and it's really not. And it's just more stress. You know, if you have a $100 guitar, you don't feel so bad about beating the hell out of it like you should be.
Just put in the work.
Yeah, put in the energy and hit it hard, you know. And, you know, I remember when I was a kid, I saw a lot of guys with nice guitars, and they're always polishing them. Those were the guys who couldn't play. The guys with like the beat up guitars, you know, carrying them around in a shopping bag, they pull that thing out, and then they really show you what they can do.
Well, that's an important lesson. Play your guitar if you truly love it. Don't polish it.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool.
That time you're spending polishing it could be playing it.
Yeah, excellent. Now, earlier you brought up the idea of the pointy guitar.
Yes.
There is a pointy guitars section on the wall in every Guitar Center.
Is there?
Yeah, there's you know, V's, there's Explorers, there's all kinds of
a whole
different
section
pointy
devoted to pointy
shapes.
guitars? Is it popular?
It's popular, yeah. It's very popular. So did you you obviously went through a phase of pointy guitars.
It's not a phase, man. I still love those things.
Yeah.
I totally love them. And I play them live. I still play my Jackson Kelly live, which I love. But when it come time to do a signature model, I didn't want to do a signature model that I've already done.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do something new and fresh and original. I mean, this shape is not the most original shape in the world, but the way this looks is new.
Yeah.
And the way it sounds is really cool, and it's different from, you know, what you might expect from this shape of a guitar. It's kind of for the future type thing.
And tonally, just sitting here in front of it, the notes kind of just sit up on the front of the speaker and they just kind of hang out. Like, it seems like you've geared it towards being like a solo distorted instrument, but it does great clean tones too.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, growing up with Jackson, it was never known for clean tones. But this guitar gets clean tones, and they're all over the record. And I think, I don't know if it was broadcast or not, but the first song had some clean tones in it. And this guitar is really nice. I think it's the guitar, and it's also the pickups that really bring the clean tone out. And you got to have it, because some songs need the clean tone.
Can we hear some of that?
Can you hear some clean tone?
Clean?
Yeah. Yeah, clean tone is like this type of thing.
So Matthew chimed in here on the stream, and his question is, any tips on how to be original?
Tips on how to be original. Okay. Well, it's a simple question, but very, very good question. You have to be honest with yourself about what you love. A lot of times, especially when young kids or guitar players, even grown-ups, what they do is if somebody who's really good says, you should go learn this, they go run right out and learn it. Whether they like it or not doesn't matter. Some good guy who they admire says you should go learn it. Like if I tell you to go out and learn some kind of traditional Japanese music, well, I like Marty, so I'm going to go learn it. That's not the way to do it. That's not it. You'll never get original by doing that. What you got to do is you got to learn the things that make you want to go learn those particular things. When I was a kid, everybody was telling me to learn from these like fusion guys. And then I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting, and I'd learn a little bit of it, and I'd say, you know what, I don't really like this music, so what am I taking this energy to learn this for? Maybe if there was a phrase in there that I thought, well, I could do something with that, I'd pick up that one thing. But a lot of guys really take the advice of people they respect a little bit too seriously. You need to go inside and learn the things you really, really want to learn yourself.
Yeah. Very good advice. So be true to yourself, keep digging in further. Play your guitar, don't polish it.
Right.
We're learning a lot of good stuff here
Those are
today,
good things.
Marty. So Anthony is asking, what tips can you give beginners who are just trying to start developing their solos?
Solos. Beginners with solos. Get in a band. Just get in a band. And when it comes to time to solo, you'll just do something, anything. You know, here's another thing, especially for beginners. The sooner you can start playing with other people, the higher you're going to like steroidize your playing abilities. When you're playing by yourself, there's no pressure at all. But when you're playing in front of your friends, it's tons of pressure.
Yeah.
So you got to put that on. Once you get used to that, you're going to like boost your learning ability so much more. So play songs with easy solos in it, or play as easy as you possibly can, but like play it like you mean it. You know, simple things. Don't try to do anything that's like completely far out of your, you know, your wheel cage, so to speak. You know, keep it really doable. And don't, you know, you just get depressed when you do things that are too difficult.
Yeah. And a related topic, Luke is asking, how do you make your solos? So in terms of physically playing them, you know, pursue things that you can achieve. But in terms of like composing, how do you do that?
Well, there was a period of time in my late teens where I really spent a lot of time composing, actually thinking deeply over what chord should I play this or what should I play that over these chords, and I spent a lot of time doing that. After a while, you naturally do that subliminally. So if we're ad-libbing, I'm already doing all of that kind of not homework, but kind of preparation. I'm playing, thinking while I'm playing. So it comes very natural. So it sounds worked out at this point, but like 90% of my solos are ad-libbed. And it's only because I'm really tuned into what the music is under it. A lot of times people get tuned into what's on top of it, what their solo is. Really think about the backing music. What are these chords telling me to do? What is the mood of the song telling me to do? Is it telling me that this is the part where I should slow down, or this is the part where I should really bring it up? Or I should be really melancholy here, or should I be happy here, or sad, or whatever. Listen to the backing music and let that tell you what to do. But that's not so easy when you've only been playing guitar a year or two. So in that case, I don't know what to tell you. Just try as many things as you can, and then listen closely. And like, that's pretty cool. Or be honest, you know, it's like, that sucks. This is another important thing. A lot of times, you work really hard on something, but you don't know if it sucks or not. Just because you work a long time on something doesn't mean it's good. Even if you nail it. This should be like on every Guitar Center wall. You know, just because you worked a lot on something doesn't mean anybody's going to like it. And here's another thing. If something looks good on your fingers, it means nothing. The only thing that matters is how it is when you hear it back. A lot of times, and this fools like 90% of the people, you move your hands like this. That guy's amazing. But if you were to listen to the same thing without watching the hands moving like that, it's like, what the hell am I listening to? So this is important.
Well, you got to play with some feeling, with some emotion, not the gimmicks.
Well, the gimmicks are cool. I mean, if it's the right time for gimmicks. But for me, I mean, melody is important.
Are there established licks or phrases that you go to?
No. But you say established licks. Established licks are a good place to start in developing your own style. So, like, for example, let's hear like a background rock tone here. For example, everybody does this. Everybody does that, right? So, like, if you want to be original, why don't you do something like this? Or if you really want to be original, do this. So he started with like everybody's licking. And we went. Something basic. The whole idea is you got to take these established cliches. Like there's a million of them. There's a million of them. Like we've all heard that so many times in our life. We don't really need to hear it again. But we can do it. See, what you do is you take those established licks and you kind of like screw with them. And the way you screw with them and the way I screw with them is going to be different. And that's how we get a little bit of originality. So there's nothing that is, you know, what's the word, taboo. I think the dude from the Doobie Brothers, Skunk Baxter, calls these things like illegal licks. And I kind of agree with that, but if it feels like the right thing to do, even the illegal licks are cool. But like when you're talking about being original, it's how do you take those cliches and make them different. So like, for example, if you're like, everybody plays in like these box shapes here. Start here. Box. It's the same box there, but you're just using different notes. So the way you change it is the way you're going to be a little bit original.
So when you learned the scales or like a mapping of the guitar, did you learn it like from a book? Or
No,
did you learn it just
and I
from
never
playing?
did that. Learn the scale mapping thing. That's just way too much energy to learn the same thing that everybody else is doing. So I learned song by song, melody by melody, and next thing you know, I've got an ear for what I want to hear. And so I learn by phrases more than like particular scales and modes. Because everybody's got the same theory books. So if you play by proper theory and you get good, you're going to sound pretty similar to another guy who's got proper theory and gets good. It's all good, and those things are very important, especially if you're a session player or a teacher or doing a lot of road work with a lot of different artists, it's
Yeah.
good to know that stuff because you can jump in and sit in any situation. But as far as total originality, sometimes listening to your own voice inside will give you a little bit more originality.
And then with your technique with picking and flicking with your other fingers, how did you develop that?
It's not something that was developed. It's kind of a default thing. If you notice, I don't mute the strings. So I'm trying to mute the strings as much as I can. So if I'm like here, what I'm doing is like while I'm playing, I'm like moving my hand around to mute the strings that are not ringing. See, when I'm there, I'm like muting all these guys like it. Muting like as much as I can.
Yeah. So that's very interesting in terms of the angle of attack, and it changes your overall sound.
Yeah, and then plus it gives you a more human element. So I'm muting everything. And when you're muting it, you can interpret the note any way you want.
You know, accurately bending to pitch is a problem for a lot of guitarists out there, myself included. How do you always nail the right note?
It's your ear. It's not in your fingers. And it comes from listening more than you're playing. There are guys who are probably way more accurate than I am out there as far as like picking and alternate picking and that type of stuff. But like, I've always made it a point to be listening more than playing. So when you're listening, your note, if the note sounds bad to you, you kind of sink it into where it should sound good. But another thing that this is probably a good tip is don't vibrate the shit out of that thing. Just like sometimes. That's the safest way to be in pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, guys think they gotta be all like that, but control it. You know, wait a while. You know, hold the note. Hold it forever. And then do it. A lot of people don't like to wait. They think they gotta hurry up and show somebody what they can do.
So use the vibrato to express yourself, but not like you have the shivers
Right.
while you're playing.
Right.
So you have a new album out, Wall of Sound.
Yes.
You just did a month out on the road.
Right.
When you're working on a new record, what's the process like to get in there and knock out 10, 12 songs?
I start with nothing. I don't, keep stuff from old records that I threw away and listen back to it. I start with zero and just start making demo after demo after demo and listening to them for months. And, when you first finish it, it's like, this is so cool. I want to keep it. This is great. I worked so hard on it.
Yeah.
But 3 months later, you know what? This kind of sucks. You got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Just because you worked so hard on it doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. So once you get over that and are honest about it, you throw stuff away, and then you, by the time a couple months go by, a year goes by, you've siphoned it down to like what's really, really good. And then that's why I take like about a year and a half to make a record for me now.
Very cool. So how important is that, kind of like the reps, like being in a gym? Demoing, recording, listening, demoing, recording, listening.
You got to do it. I mean, only when you feel like doing it. You could do the first demo and say, this is the shit, this is it. I love it, I don't want to change a thing. But then again, usually, most of the time, you do a demo, and you're like, I like this one little part that's like 3 seconds long, the rest sucks. How do I make a song around this cool 3-second part? So you save that part. That's what it's more realistic. So that's why it kind of takes forever. And then you want to find the parts that give you the chills.
Yeah.
And find out how to develop them into making sure that they give you the chills every time, 6-8 months later.
And so on the new record, you have Anoop, Greg Bissonette, Kiyoshi, Jinx from Black Veil Brides.
Yeah, good guys.
What did those people bring to your songs?
I like to cherry pick the people who I play in my records. Anoop is he's a absolute modern drummer, amazing. He's the future of heavy aggressive drums, and he's so young. He's like 26. So I know how to push him beyond the level he even wants to go. He wants to sit home and play Bruno Mars songs on drums, which is fantastic. But when he plays on my records, it's just like, I've never heard anybody play like that, except my touring drummer Chargy, who faithfully recreates that in his own way. But Anoop is a real master of originality in drums while keeping the ideas that I have going. There's one thing to be original, but I kind of have a framework of the way I want my drums to be, super aggressive and supportive.
Yeah.
It's not a drum competition, but I definitely am able to push him so far that he really is just mind-blowing on this record.
Very cool. And then in working with so many different people over the years, what do you find makes a good bandmate or a good collaborator?
Someone who obviously is into it and is not lazy. And it's just really a chemistry thing, too. I mean, you could have fantastic musicians and put them both in the same room and they don't come up with anything great.
Yeah.
It's a chemistry. You got to just trial and error. These are the guests that were on my record, but I had a lot of other people who didn't necessarily get through the demo stage because we tried it. It was cool, but it wasn't album worthy type of things, and maybe next time kind of thing. You got to be honest with that.
Yeah.
Even if these guys are your best friends, and even if they are like super musicians who are playing their asses off, song's got to have magic in it.
Yeah.
And you can't. Sometimes it's with somebody you can't stand. Sometimes you're recording with somebody and you don't like them, but what's coming through those speakers is just kicking ass.
Yeah.
I haven't been in that situation very much, thankfully, but I know what happens.
So we've got a compliment here. Luke, he's learning the Tornado of Souls solo. It blows his mind that someone can make something like that. So he recently started soloing. You need some good scales, arpeggios to use. Don't learn scales or arpeggios. Play straight out of your heart. That's
No.
That's what Marty said.
Learn all that stuff. There's no damage ever in learning of anything. Learn everything you possibly can, but there are no good scales or good arpeggios. There's only the ones that appeal to you.
Yeah.
And more importantly than scales and arpeggios are the pieces of music that appeal to you. Like if there's a solo that you like from somebody, dissect it and learn it. You don't need to learn everything that built up to that.
Yeah.
Just learn the things that you want to learn, and that's so important. Take it to a guitar teacher and dude, show me this.
Yeah.
And show me why do I like this?
Yeah.
And why do I like this solo better than this solo? That's important information. Will send you on a good path of learning.
Nice. Okay, so lightning round of questions here. Many users are asking, when will you be touring the States again?
Hopefully sometime early next year, or maybe summer of next year. We just did 1 month in America. We're going to South America. We're going to do Japan, and talking about Europe and some other places. But I want to come back to America. It was such a fantastic tour.
Cool.
It was a testing ground for my gear. My Jackson guitar, my Angle amp, not one single problem.
Nice.
The entire tour. And you can see, go watch some video. I beat the shit out of this thing. So I'm very happy about that. Can't wait to get back.
Nice. And what are you listening to right now?
Listening to, what am I listening to? We are playing tour just finished, but we're playing every day. The only thing I'm listening to is I listen to a lot of the CDs that fans give us on the bus. So some of the things I don't know the names of, but there's some really cool new stuff happening out there. I love the Deaf Heaven CD.
Cool.
I collaborated with Shiv from Deaf Heaven. We've been cranking that. That's really a recommendation. And of course, a lot of Japanese stuff.
Nice. And then, let's see, will there be another record with blank project? Literally, dozens of different projects you've been in. Are you strictly solo for the time being, or you?
I have absolutely no rules at all. I will do anything that's interesting and new and fresh and exciting musically.
Cool.
Right now, we just started the Wall of Sound cycle, so I'll be doing that for a while. But I'm always open to opportunities of any kind of unique musical collaborations.
Nice.
And I think that's why I'm so happy with my Inferno album and Wall of Sound, is because I was able to collaborate with some people that really brought some cool stuff to my party, and
Very nice.
I'm open to it.
All right, so thank you everyone for joining us today.
Very much.
Marty, would you care to maybe
play
us out with a tune?
Let me see. Let me get a song in here.
From Wall of Sound?
From Wall of Sound, or maybe I'll do something else. I'm not really sure what's going on in here. But let me play a song out. All right, y'all ready?
Yeah,
Here we
this is for commenter Bill Scheller, who says, "Just let the man play."
Just let the man
So,
play. That's
this
what
for
I'm
you,
gonna
Bill.
do. All right, ready? We're gonna do this one here. All right, I'm gonna do Devil Take Tomorrow. All right, you ready for that? Here we go. I hope we're not balanced. This is all just live, whatever.